from Fremont, Nebraska. I go to school at the University of South Dakota. Yes, it's cold. And I currently am undecided for a major, and I will be taking suggestions after the service.
My name is Stephanie Achi. I am from Richmond, Kentucky, where I go to school at Eastern Kentucky University. I am a senior majoring in emergency medical care, and we are both Micah Corps interns. Now, what is Micah Corps, you might ask? It is a summer-long young adult internship sponsored by the Great Plains United Methodist Conference, and our work is based on today's scripture, actually, which is Micah 6:8, which says, "What does the Lord require of you but to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with your God?" With that as our inspiration, we go around to churches in Kansas and Nebraska, speaking about different social justice topics and how we as Christians are called to act on them.
So as people, we're part of a lot of different things, and today I'm going to ask you to be a part of my favorite activity, which is hand polls. So, I'm going to say some statements. Raise your hand if it applies to you. Raise your hand if you've ever been on a sports team or in any sort of club. Any club. Thank you. All right. Okay, raise your hand if you've ever been to school in any capacity. Good. Okay. Raise your hand if you have ever in your life had a job. Yeah. Okay. Thanks. Okay. Okay. Raise your hand if you don't participate in hand polls. Oh, that's a first. Okay. So all of these things have something in common, and it's that no matter if you're going to school, you have a job, they all have code of conducts or principles, handbooks, etc., rules to be broken, right? No? Yeah. So, for example, my job, our principles are based on the verse Micah 6:8. We are supposed to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with God. So, I also had rules when I was a kid, but they're not the typical rules that you would think of. They were actually made up by me and my 6 cousins, and we ranged from ages 9 to 13. So really, can you think of a better group of people to make rules? I can't. That's why we made them. So our rules, some were always give away your last piece of food, and always pick up litter on the ground when you see it, or take care of animals, whether it was our cattle or whether it was farm cats. So we also had one more, which was the most important rule, and it was expect the unexpected. I honestly still don't know what this means, but we used it as an excuse to, maybe put ice cubes down somebody's shirt, or scare them when they're coming around corners. The occasional dunking of a cousin in a lake. Okay, they just didn't see it coming. So we use the shorter rules as an excuse, because under Article 2, Paragraph 5 of the shorter rules, it said that you had to expect the unexpected. Now, these shorter rules were fundamental to our identity as shorter children, just as the social principles are fundamental to our identity as United Methodist Christians. Now, the social principles are not to be considered church law, but are instead a prayerful and thoughtful effort on part of General Conference. They were not made by me and my 6 cousins, fortunately. They speak to the human issues in the modern world that we live in. They're formed from a sound biblical and theological foundation as historically demonstrated by the United Methodist traditions. Social principles are separated into 6 sections that we call communities, and these communities cover all the topics from healthcare to immigrant rights. They're a call to faithfulness and are intended to be instructive and persuasive. Social principles are a call to all members of the United Methodist Church to discern and pray and have a study dialogue of faith and practice. In our words, social principles call us out of passivity and into action.
So just as the Schroeder cousins had the Schroeder rules, the social principles have specific sections that are meant to guide us. So an example is in the natural world section of the social principles, it says, all creation is the Lord's, and we are responsible for the ways in which we use and abuse it. Water, air, soil, minerals, energy resources, plants, animal life, and space are to be valued and conserved because they are all God's creation, and not solely because they are useful to human beings. God has granted us stewardship of creation, and we should meet these stewardship duties through acts of loving care and respect. See, when the earth was first created, God looked at it and saw that it was very good. In Genesis chapter 2, verses 15, it says, the Lord God took the man and put him in the Garden of Eden to work it and take care of it. We have been blessed with so much, and with that great blessing comes great responsibility. As stated by the social principles, we are to be good stewards of the earth that we've been given and meet our stewardship duties through acts of loving care and respect. A good way to practice these acts of care and respect are by first acknowledging the negative role we've played in the current state of the climate and environment. We need to recognize that we as a church and as individuals have the responsibility of prioritizing economic, political, social, and technological changes in our lifestyles to support a more ecologically equitable and sustainable world, leading to a higher quality of life for all of God's creation. So first, you evaluate your lifestyle and the institutions that you are part of, and learn how you are connected to the climate crisis. There are carbon and ecological footprint calculators available online that you can use to measure your emissions and see how your lifestyle is impacting creation. We need to understand that enough is enough. We need to be more aware of our consumption and realize that sometimes we have a little too much. We have what we need and we have what we want, and we need to focus on the things we need. So we need to evaluate our consumption habits and find ways to reduce our consumption, and also ensure that the products that you purchase align with the values stated in the social principles. You can also support organizations like the Land Institute here in Salina that are dedicated to sustainable farming practices. Another thing we need to do is contact our elected officials and urge them to address the global climate crisis. Ask them to support investing in a clean energy future, reducing emissions, and providing adaptation assistance for those struggling to survive in a rapidly changing environment. We need to understand that the impact of our actions are great, and they are having an effect on all of God's creation. Overconsumption and the misuse of resources have led to pollution on a local, regional, and global scale. Micah 6:8 says we are required to do justice. And doing justice means that we need to strive to create a world where all of God's children share in the abundance of creation. And also understand that our responsibility as caretakers and stewards of God's planet include ensuring a healthy and abundant world for future generations as well.
Will you please join me in an attitude of prayer? Loving God, we confess that sometimes we fall short in our call to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with you. We are so thankful for the world that you've given us and the community that you've given us. Help us to evaluate and make changes according to your will. Amen.